Good evening. Hello and welcome to today's talk, which is about applying to Queen's or applying to university through UCAS. My name is Radhika Longbottom, and today I'm going to talk you through how to apply through Queen's and maybe give you some top tips on finding the right university for you. Now, before I go on and talk about the presentation, I just quickly wanted to let you know that this is one of a series of talks that we are running. They're all webinars that are being delivered between 6 and 7 in the evening. Next week, for example, we're going to do a talk on where a degree from Queen's will take you. That's on Tuesday. And then on Thursday, we're hosting a student panel. So there's a number of events that we're running for potential students that are currently in the process of applying to university. And we hope that these webinars will be useful to you in your journey towards applying to university and getting into university. So without further ado, a very warm welcome from Queen's, and this is what our talk today is going to cover. So first of all, I'm going to start off by looking at what UCAS is all about. Then I will talk about finding a course and a university that is right for you. We'll then briefly look at the UCAS application timeline, the process, how you can apply to UCAS. And then once that's done, we look at the replies that you get back, so the offers that universities make to you, and then your decisions in terms of whether you accept the offers that are made. And then once all of that is finished, there is an opportunity for you to ask me some questions relating to applying to universities through UCAS. So what I will do is I will enable the chat right at the end. So please have your questions ready. So what is UCAS? Now, normally at this time of year, I'd be out and about based in England. I would be going to schools and universities and attending events and doing talks such as this. And I normally start off by saying to the students that are participating in the event is, can someone tell me what UCAS stands for? And more often than not, I get lots of different answers. I get sort of universities and campus applications, systems. In reality, UCAS really stands for Universities and College Admission System. Okay, so UCAS is a charity. They do have a commercial arm to it where they run events and things like that. But for your purposes today, the thing to focus on is that UCAS really is a receptacle which provides an application system for students that are interested in applying to universities in the UK. It also acts as an information tool. It acts as a portal that provides advice for applicants, for teachers, for advisors, and they offer you a number of fantastic facilities. So for example, over and above the application process, i.e. the actual applying to the university side of things, you can use UCAS to look for courses. You can use UCAS to participate in events, to participate in exhibitions. Now, currently, there aren't any actual physical events going on, but they are running a number of virtual events. And for the teachers out there, they also organize conferences to help and sort of simplify the application process. So they do perform quite an important role in the application process. Now, applying to university, a number of you probably have had some fantastic advice from your schools and from your colleges. And I'm literally going to reiterate what you've probably already been told by your teachers and careers advisors. Normally, when you're applying to a UK university, you start off by choosing a general subject area that you're interested in. So what is it that really, really gets you going? Now, it could be something that you're very, very passionate about. It could be something that you feel is important and you really need to have it with the help because it is going to help you with your career aspirations. Or it could be that you have to go to university in order to do something. So for example, if you're studying law, or if you're studying pharmacy, or if you're studying medicine or dentistry, then you need the degree to go with it in order to be able to practice. So those are professional qualifications. So choose the general area that you're interested in. Once you've done that, my advice to you would be look at what the course offers you. So for example, don't just simply look at the title of a course. Oh, does it say biotechnology? Well, I don't want biotechnology. I want biotechnology and pharmaceutical science. Well, don't be taken up by the title of the course. Look beyond that. Look at what course options are available. What are the core modules that you're going to be taught? What are the optional modules that are going to be taught? What different things can you do as a part of that course? Now, some universities might call a course biotechnology, others might call it pharmaceutical sciences and biotechnology, others might call it something completely different. But if the course fundamentally is exactly the same, then you need to look at things beyond that, not just the title. More often than not, websites will provide you with details of what the core modules are, as well as the optional modules, okay? The next thing really to look at is teaching style and assessment. Now, individuals vary. Some of you might be independent learners. You might be quite happy to get a reading list, go to the library, do all your work yourself. Others might be the type of learner where things need to be broken into bite-sized pieces. So how the course is taught and how it meets your requirements is just as important. How is it going to be assessed? Are you someone who's really good at writing essays? Or are you somebody who's more practical and prefers like test style assessment? So look at the teaching style, look at the assessment. How many people are in each module? How many other people will you be with in the classroom? All of these things are important from a learning experience point of view. Now, currently, with the way things stand, perhaps study abroad and internship might be something that you're not looking at, but I would urge you to look at it. This situation isn't going to stay the same. Things will change and there will be opportunities for you to go abroad and to do internship. And that's really, really quite important, both in terms of the experience that you get, but also in terms of developing your career aspirations and helping you to establish certain goalposts that you might find very, very useful when you're looking for a job after you graduate. And then, as I talked about before, try and sort of look into why you're doing that course. You know, a passion for a course or a passion for a subject is very, very important. But if you're doing, for example, if you're looking forward to a career in insurance, a degree like actuarial science might be the right degree for you. So you really need to look into your career aspirations and how that course or that degree is going to help you with those career aspirations. Now, if you are interested in applying to Queen's, and I suspect you are, which is why you've logged on to listen to me talk today, then you'll be pleased to know that we recently had our open day. And as a part of the open day, we've had we've had a number of virtual discovery sessions as well as subject talk that are available for you to listen to and to really get a feel for what each subject and each course will provide you in terms of the experience. So this is the key bit. If you're applying to British universities, that's how you go about it. You choose your course and then you choose your university. So let's look at finding the right university for you. Now, there are lots of different universities that will offer you the same course. Like I said to you before, it might be called something slightly different, but effectively it'll be very, very similar. So what type of university attracts you? Are you someone who likes the kind of experience that Queen's University Belfast is going to provide you, which is a fantastic traditional experience where you've got beautiful buildings, absolutely superb facilities, the Russell Group name, all of that? Or are you somebody who is interested in a very modern university, something that is quite sort of niche, something that is post-92? Their teaching style is different, their emphasis is different. Traditional universities, Russell Group universities, tend to focus on research. So for example, at Queen's, you're going to be taught by academics who are right at the cutting edge of research. So the courses that you learn and the people that you learn for are going to be the top researchers in that field. The other thing to look at when you're choosing the university is, are you looking for something that is city-based, or are you looking for a campus university? Now, there are a number of universities, say, for example, in England. I live in the southeast of England, and you've got Kent University, which is in the far southeast. And they have a number of different campuses. None of them are city centre located, but they are campuses. So everything is within a nice sort of enclosed space for you. So there's very much a collegiate feeling to it. Or do you want a university that's bang in the middle of the city? Now, there are London universities that are city-based. I won't go into details, but what that means is you're going to be shunting around through tubes and jumping into buildings in one part of London and then going into another part of London. Is that for you? Are you going to university for the city experience, or are you going to university for a collegiate experience? Now, those of you that are from Belfast or have had the opportunity to visit Belfast and Queen's University in the past will probably know that we offer the best of both. We are about a 15-minute walk from the city centre, but we have the most beautiful campus in the Queen's Quarter. The other important thing when you're choosing university is to look at the support services. Now, more often than not, this is the first time you're going to be away from home, away from your friends, your family, your loved ones. So it's really quite important that you look at what support the university provides to you. Do you have any additional needs? Have you listed them through UCAS? How does the university put potentially sort of processes in place to help you and to support you to address those needs? Equally, what does the university have in terms of your wellness, your health, your well-being, your mental health, your emotional, and how does it help you in terms of your career progression, in terms of achieving your goals? All of those things are really quite important. You're going to be spending up to 3 to 5 years at university. So you need to be sure that the support mechanism that is available to you is really spot on. For a lot of people, the student life is very important. It might be that you're very interested in a particular sport. It might be that you know you've got a keen interest in starting a club or getting involved in a particular club at university, and that sort of social aspect of it might be very important. You know, the opportunity to do volunteering work, for example, the opportunity to do placement. So all of those things come into play in terms of the student life. How does your university that you plan to study at provide you with something that is right for you? Now, graduate employment is very, very important. As I said to you, next week, we've got a talk about where a degree from Queen's will take you. And particularly in this very, very difficult time, you want to be reassured that the university degree that you are undertaking is going to help you to achieve your career goals. And you need to look into that. How does the university support you? Do they support placements? Does the course have placements? Does the course have study abroad opportunities? Cost is a very, very important aspect that you need to take into consideration when you're going to university. You might choose to go to a university that's close to home. That means that, you know, your living costs might be significantly lower because you could maybe want to stay at home in the second, third, or fourth year. Your travel costs will be significantly lower. But also, how expensive is it to live in that city? It's not just about your tuition fees, it's also the cost of living. Now, Northern Ireland, particularly Belfast, has some of the lowest student cost in the UK. If you compare that with London, it's nearly £5,000 cheaper to study at Queen's University than it is to study at any other university in London. So you need to take into account the full costing not just your tuition fees, but also your living costs, your travel costs. There's going to be opportunities or situations where you're going to have to rush home for whatever reason. How close are you and how much is it going to cost you to get home? All of those things play a really important role. And last but not the least, the ranking and reputation of the university. Now, for some people, that is very, very important. For others, that's not such an important. The important thing for some people, and this would be my view, is to get a gut feeling. If you think that a university is right for you, if you get the right feeling, then it's probably right. So before you apply, you need to do your research. There's absolutely no two ways about it. You need to look into what university you want to go to. How do you do it? Obviously, at the minute, it's probably very difficult to visit universities. So when it is safe and possible, try and make sure that you go and visit the university. But currently, there are lots of opportunities available for you to take part in online events. For example, we've got a number of events that we are hosting over the coming weeks, but we've also had our open day, as I said to you before. University websites are very, very good. The key thing here is that each university has its own entry requirements. So just because you've applied to Queen's University Belfast for medicine, and this is what Queen's have said is your entry requirement, does not mean that another medical school in GB is going to have the same entry requirements. And that is why it's really important that you look at the website, you look at prospectuses, and you look at the entry requirements for each university. They vary significantly. Do your research, make sure you understand what it is that the universities are looking at. If you have any questions, engage with the universities. Quite often, you've got faculties, you've got schools, where you've got members of staff who are more than happy to answer your questions relating to either the course or the entry requirements or lots of other things. So engage with us. And now more than ever in this sort of online world that we're dealing with, you will find that universities are very, very receptive to that. The other way to find out about student experiences is to look at things like student videos, blogs. Talk to people who are already there, find out about their experience. They're probably going to be a lot more honest about what they like and they dislike about university life. And that's really going to help you. Another great resource that, people don't often think of is alumni. Now, if you're from Northern Ireland or from the Republic of Ireland, more often than not, you're going to find somebody in your family who's gone to Queen's, whether it's an uncle, whether it's mummy, whether it's daddy, or whether it's granddad. I don't know. Talk to them. Find out about their experience of Queen's. They probably start off by saying like, oh, back in the day. But you know what? Get a feel for the place. And like I said to you before, currently things are a little bit tricky, but when possible, do try and go and visit. Because like I said, you're going to stay somewhere. University is going to be 3 to 5 years, 5 years if you're doing medicine. You really need to get a good gut feeling about where you're studying. So applying via UCAS, the basics. Now, first thing to tell you is that the application is completed online. You can apply to a maximum of 5 courses at a time. Obviously, as most of you will have known, the 15th October deadline for certain courses, veterinary, medicine, dentistry, Oxford or Cambridge, is now past. So not so relevant anymore, but the next big deadline really is 15th of January. And that's really quite important because 15th of January is what they call the equal consideration deadline. Also, with some courses where there are competitive admissions, if you don't apply by the 15th of January deadline, there is no guarantee that you're going to be accepted or even considered for a course. So if you want to apply for courses, my suggestion, top tip, would be to apply by the 15th of January deadline. You have to pay an application fee, and that is £26 for 5 courses and £20 if you're applying for just the one course in one university. So let's look at the timeline very quickly. Now, UCAS opened back in May. So you could have effectively started your application in May. But only on the 8th of September would you have been able to submit that application, okay? Now, the next big deadline, as I said to you before, was the 15th of October deadline at 6 p.m. If you wanted to apply for some of the more competitive courses, that was when you had to complete your application. However, for a majority of our courses, the deadline really is 15th of January. Now, as I said to you before, 15th of January is the equal consideration deadline. So, for example, if you're applying for courses such as nursing, midwifery, social work, actuarial risk management, the competitive courses, and where there are additional sort of interviews or additional tests or requirements, then you really must apply by 6 p.m. on the 15th of January. Okay. Now, the next big deadline is the 25th of February. That's when UCAS Extra opens. UCAS Extra really is for those people who've not heard back from their 15th of January application. So if you've been declined a place, or if you've not been accepted, or if you've not been successful in getting a place, then you can apply through UCAS Extra. What you do is you apply to one university at a time. If you get an offer from them and you accept it, that's it, it's all done. If you don't want that, you decline it, and then you apply. You can only apply through UCAS Extra one at a time. The next big deadline is 30th of June. So, for example, for whatever reason, you haven't applied by the 15th of January and you haven't done your you haven't chosen your 5 courses, you have until the 30th of June to apply. And that means that you can still apply to 5 universities, five courses, and maybe 1 university. But you can apply to 5 courses and expect to hear from us by then. After that, however, you are looking at applying through clearing. So after the 30th of June, if you haven't applied, then the only way you can apply to university is through clearing. Now, the important thing to mention in here is that these are deadlines relating to UCAS. So UCAS provide these deadlines. However, your school or your college might have their own internal deadlines. Okay. Now, there are 2 types of people that apply through UCAS. Those that apply through the college or through their school. And what will happen normally is that you start your application, you get given a buzzword. And what that buzzword does is that it attaches your application to your school. So, for example, when your teacher or your tutor needs to go in and provide a reference, that's how they do it. But equally, when they are checking to see that all of the students that needed to apply through UCAS have done so on time, they have a system of double checking that you have applied to UCAS via the school. But if you are an independent candidate, you can do it yourself. So, for example, you just literally apply, there will be no buzzword, you apply, and that's it. Those of you that are interested in applying to Queen's, it might be useful for you to find out that our institution code name is QBELF. Our institution code is Q75. And because we just have the one campus, you do not need to put in a campus code. So how do you complete the UCAS application? It's very, very simple. You go to ucas.com/apply. You put in a username, you put in a password, and you create a profile for yourself. That's how you register, okay? Now, there are 4 key areas within your UCAS application that you really need to complete on time and on target. The first thing is your personal details. You will need to make sure that you put in accurately your name, your address, your date of birth, and your contact details. Please make sure that you fill in the right digits for your telephone number. And, if you have an overly complicated email address, then please make sure that you put in the correct email address. Also, a top tip is that you might be at school now, But by the time you decide to go to university over in August, September time, you might not be checking your school or your college email as regularly. So make sure that you put an email address in there that you have access to and that you will be checking regularly, okay? The second section really that you need to complete in your UCAS application is about choices, and that means, the name of the university that you're applying to and the name of the courses that you're applying to. Now, again, top tip here is that you will have a university code. You will have to make sure that you put in the code name, the campus code, all of that information. And you also need to make sure that you put in the correct course code. That is known as a JAX code, and you must complete that. You don't have to make all 5 choices in one go, but if you are doing so, please make sure that you are accurate. The third section that you need to complete is education. You need to complete both your completed education as well as your pending education. So for example, if you've completed GCSEs, put those in. If you've done anything extra, Duke Fairs and Board, all of that needs to go in there. If you're doing EPQs, put that in. If you're doing AS levels, put that in. And then any qualifications that you're doing. So for example, if you're doing A levels, if you're doing the Scottish Highers, if you're doing the Irish Leaving Certificate, if you're doing the International Baccalaureate, make sure you put all of that information in. You need to put in what subject you're doing and at what level. The most important section then is the personal statement. So here's where it gets quite interesting. There are very specific limitations in terms of what you can and cannot put in. And as you can see over there, you can put in 47 lines. It has to be a maximum of 4,000 characters and a minimum of 1,000 characters. Remember that your personal statement, if you're applying to 5 different universities, is going to be the same for all of them. So please try and make it as neutral as you can. Don't say that I would love to go to Oxford University when you're in fact applying to 4 other universities over and above Oxford. The other 4 universities are not going to be very impressed with that. Equally, make sure that you have a beginning, a middle, and an end. List why you are passionate about the subject. List all the experiences that you have and make sure you make it relevant. Make sure that anything that you have really relates to the course. Now, that might be difficult if you're applying for subjects that are completely diverse, but this is why it's really important to choose a general subject area that you're really passionate about so that your personal statement is effectively. It is really the way that you differentiate yourself to others. And I would recommend that you spend a bit of time looking into it. Now, once again, we've got a talk on personal statements in a few weeks. So if you are interested in finding out a lot more about writing a good personal statement, please log on to our website and sign up for those. Now, once you've completed all of that, make sure that you do it on time and on target. Now, your school deadline might be different to the UCAS deadline, and make sure that you adhere to those deadlines, that your teachers or your advisors, or your careers teachers, or your head of sixth form are telling you, because it's really important that you give them time, because once you've submitted all of this, they then need to go in and write their reference. Give them a bit of time because they're probably going to be doing the reference for about 60 pupils, so they need time as well. Just bear that in mind. So when you're given a deadline, say of 30th of December, don't be thinking, oh well, that's 2 weeks before the UCAS deadline, but that's 2 weeks for your teacher to go in and put your reference in. Equally, when it comes to fees, every school is different. Some of you might expect you to put in your credit card details, others might do it for you. So again, that varies. If you're an independent candidate, then what will happen is that you will pay your fees, and then UCAS will contact your referee to provide a reference. But if you're applying through school, and that's why the buzzword is important, what will happen is your application is incomplete. Your teacher or your careers advisor then goes in, adds the reference, and then submits. So once you've submitted your application on time and on target before the 6 p.m. deadline, our admissions tutor have a number of criteria that they will review and look for before they make a decision in terms of an offer. The first thing really is the entry criteria. As I said to you before, just because you're applying for a course at Queen's does not mean that another university in the UK has the same entry criteria. Look at the entry criteria. Our admissions tutors will look at your grades or your predicted grades that your teachers put in against our requirements. Now, that could be a number of different things. It could be, if you're from Northern Ireland, the year 14 performance. If you're from GB, it could be the year 13 performance or the predicted scores. It could also be your GCSE grades. So there are a number of subjects. For example, if you're doing architecture at Queen's, we will look at your GCSE art grade, and we expect you to have a minimum grade. So a lot of courses do have that GCSE grade requirement as well, and we will look at those. That's what our admissions team will do. They will look at academic references, and that does include the predicted grades. And last, but certainly not the least, we will look at personal statements. Now, if you're applying for competitive subjects such as nursing, for example, or medicine, then the personal statement becomes very, very relevant, very, very relevant. So please put a little bit of thought into it. So once our admissions tutors have received your application and they've had the opportunity to assess that application against predetermined criteria, the university will then make a decision. And this is relatively standard for most UK universities. Some will respond to you straight away. Others will take their time. It might get escalated to an academic tutor. But either way, there isn't really a hard and fast rule in terms of, oh, well, you will hear from us in X number of days. Normally, it is about anywhere between 48 hours to up to 3 weeks. If you're doing, so the type of decisions that, or responses that a university will come back with once you've applied is really that there are four decisions that you could potentially have. The first and the most sort of common decision that a university makes is a conditional offer. Now, conditional offer is that where a university will get back to you and say that subject to you receiving X, Y, and Z grades at your A-levels and at your GCSEs, we will be prepared to accept you in August. Now, if you are doing A-levels, then obviously what that means is you wait till August till you get your results. More often than not, as I said to you before, if you're doing something like social sciences, or if you're doing nursing, or if you're doing medicine, there is an admissions requirement where we expect you to have done an admissions test. So for example, for the medicine and dentistry programs, you need to complete your UCAS test. So we will be saying to you, you will need to have this particular grade or grading at this admissions test. We might invite you for an interview. And in some cases, if it is an art or design course, there might be a requirement for a portfolio. So those might be some of the conditions that you might expect to hear. Unconditional offer is probably the next most popular alternative, where a university comes back to you and says, on the basis of your profile that we've had, we're going to make you an unconditional offer. What that means is we will accept you here and now as per your application. The third option is the option where they look at your profile and the university decides that you are not the right match for them. There might be a number of factors for it. It might be a personal statement, it might be the grades, or it might be something that's, just doesn't fit. So in that case, the response that the university, or the decision that the university makes, is that they will say you've been unsuccessful. So there are there are three main things. Now, in certain cases, universities might also make you an alternative course offer. So for example, if you've applied for international business with a language, they might look at your application and think, well, not so sure about the language element of it, but would you like to come in and do a business management course instead? So that is also an option. Now, I think the key thing to mention at this point is that Queen's makes offers based in terms of grades rather than UCAS tariff points. There will be some universities that do make tariff points decisions. We don't. We will normally ask for 3 or 4 A levels, and we will say, this is how much you need to get. So it'll probably be an A, B, or something like that. We also don't grade substitute. So if we're asking you for 2 A's and a B, then you need to get A, B, or above. You can't have A star, B, B. That's not how it works, okay? So once you've applied and you've done your application and you're looking for your decisions, or you're looking for replies, or you want to decide whether you want to accept an offer, the way you do it is through UCAS Track. Now, UCAS Track is ucas.com/track. Once you've submitted your application, apply ends and track starts. It's where you follow your application. If you have any amendments to your detail, then that is the time that you will apply to track and make those amendments. You can also respond to your offers using track. Now, if you've applied to a university where you've had a conditional offer and you're choosing to go for a conditional offer, then you have the option of 2 choices. The first will be your firm choice. That will be your first option. And the second will be your backup choice. Now, my top tip here is, if you're choosing 2 universities in a similar course, then always choose an insurance choice that has a slightly lower entry requirement than your firm. So what that means is, if for whatever reason, you don't get your grades, then at least you know you're going to be accepted by your insurance choice. If you choose an unconditional offer, think about it very carefully, because you automatically decline all other offers. So you're locked into your unconditional offer. You automatically decline. You don't have an insurance choice, okay? Now, all other offers are declined if you choose an unconditional offer. Same with if you're choosing conditional offers. If you choose a firm and insurance, all others are declined, but you have got a 14-day cool-off period. So if you do want to change your mind, then you've got 14 days to do that. Now, once all of that is done, once you have completed your applications, you've received your decisions from your universities, well, you know what? That's it. You just have to sit back, relax, and continue to work hard at college or university till its results day. Okay? What I haven't talked about here is when you make those decisions. Now, last year, the 15th May deadline for you as students to respond to university decisions was changed slightly because of the current situation. When I talk about last year, I mean the last academic year. So the 2020 entry students. Normally what happens is, when you apply and you get a decision from the university, you have until the 15th of May to decide which firm or choice, firm choice or insurance choice you're going for, or your unconditional option. This year, what happened was, because of COVID, that deadline was delayed. Now, this is why I'm not focusing on that sort of decision deadline here. And the reason for that is because I have absolutely no idea whether UCAS is going to stick to the 15th of May deadline, or whether they're going to give you extra time to make that decision. But presumably, a decision will be made and UCAS will inform you of it. All you do at that point then is, once you decide which university you've chosen as your firm, or you've chosen as your insurance, or your unconditional, you literally sit back and wait until August or any such time that your results come out, okay? If you've got an unconditional offer, and you're coming to Queen's, for example, the academic term commences on the 20th of September, and you join us then. If you have a conditional offer, we will wait till your results come out. We will compare them against the conditions, and a decision will be made whether we accept you or not. If you are unsuccessful, you can apply through clearing. Remember, you can't apply for the same course that you've applied for at Queen's through clearing. You'll have to apply for another course. But there are other universities where you might potentially be able to do that. But really, once you've applied, once you've had your decision, once you've made your decision, you've replied to that decision, made your firm choice, you pretty much have to wait till August. Nothing else happens in between. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is pretty much how you apply to UCAS. Now, before I open the chat section, and please don't feel shy, please don't ask your questions, I'm going to quickly show you a video about what life at university, particularly at Queen's University, is like, and I hope you enjoy that. So I hope you found that video useful, and it gave you a little feel for what the situation, what it's like to be a student at Queen's. And I've got a number of questions that have come through here. So the first question is, do international students have to apply through UCAS as well? Yes, I'm afraid any student that is applying to study at a university in the UK must apply through UCAS. So I have another question here, which is, can I apply through UCAS again this year? So I'm assuming that you've already applied once through UCAS, and assuming that you've applied by the 15th of October deadline. Unfortunately, the answer to that question is you can only apply once through UCAS to universities. So what will happen is that if it is that you're concerned about being unsuccessful, then you literally have to wait till the university makes their decision and look at what offers you have been made and decide from those. If you're not happy for whatever reason, then you can decline those offers, and then come 25th of February, you can start applying through UCAS Extra. So for example, you apply to one university, you wait for them to make a decision, and if you want to accept the offer that they make, you can say yes, and then it becomes an unconditional, you're a firm choice for them, or you can choose to decline that offer and apply to another. I have a question here, which is it harder to apply for UCAS from the Irish Leaving Certificate? Now, the Irish Leaving Certificate is equivalent, classed as equivalent to the matriculation here in UK. So if you're doing the A-level or the IB, then that's equivalent. So what our admissions team will do is they will assess your qualifications against, and they will convert them. And on the basis of that, you will be given equal consideration for a place using your Irish Leaving Certificate. Okay, so please don't worry if you have Irish Leaving Certificate. It is absolutely fine. You will be given equal consideration. For Ireland, how will it work if there are estimated grades or delayed firm grades for the Leaving Certificate, please? Right, so we experienced some of this year. So, for example, I know that the Irish Leaving Cert results came out significantly later than the A-level results. But I think, and from the experience that we had this year, I can say that even if grades are delayed, the university will give equal consideration to students that have the Leaving Cert. So please don't worry about it. We have had experience of dealing with situations such as this, and we have given due consideration to those students that have applied to us from the south of Ireland. Do you know after Brexit what the fees will be for Southern Ireland students? My suggestion regarding fees is that you look at our fees and funding website. This is updated regularly, and all decisions regarding post-Brexit fees will be available for you to view on our fees website. If I have 3 offers and they expire while waiting for the other 2, okay, so I think what you're trying to ask me is if I've had only 3 offers and 2 universities haven't yet responded to me, then what happens? So normally what happens is you have universities have something like 21 days to respond to applications. So if they don't respond to you in 3 weeks, I think what happens is it is a decline by default. So they haven't responded to you on time. So unfortunately, that application will not go anywhere. So you will need to focus on the 3 offers, and you'll have to make a decision in terms of whether those offers that you've had are unconditional offers or whether they are conditional offers. Now, if you choose an unconditional offer there, then what happens is that your other 2, where you've been made an offer, will automatically get declined. But if the 3 offers that you've had are all conditional offers, then you will need to choose whether you have 1 firm and 1 insurance. How many different universities do you apply for in your application? People say 5. You can apply to 5 courses. So it is courses that are restricted to 5. It could be that those 5 courses are just with 1 university. So you could apply to Queen's University and 5 courses within Queen's, or you could apply to 5 different courses at 5 different universities. So, for example, one course at one university, another course at another university, and so on. So the key thing to remember is that it's not the universities that you have to restrict to 5. It's the courses that you have to restrict to 5. So, for example, you could apply to 2 universities and 5 courses. Is there benefit to applying earlier than the 15 January deadline? Do places get allocated as soon as people apply? So as I said in my presentation before, if you are really well prepared and you wish to apply before the 15th of January, then good for you. You know, you've obviously worked on your application and it's all ready and you can submit it. But from a university or a UCAS point of view, 15 January is the equal consideration deadline. So if you apply before that, fantastic. But even if you apply at 6 p.m. on the 15th of January, that's absolutely fine. So it really doesn't matter whether you apply before the 15th of January or you apply at 6 p.m. on the 15th of January. I think the important thing to mention here is that if you're applying through school or if you're applying through college, then your school or your college might have an internal deadline, and that may well be before the 15th of January deadline. So my advice to you would be to check with your school or check with your college and find out what their deadline is, which will mean that your teacher or your tutor will be able to put in their reference and submit your application on time on your behalf through UCAS. I'm in year 12. Should I be concerned now or worry next year? Do I do the UCAT next year? Doing the UCAT really is down to planning. It's down to preparation, and it's really down to making sure that you do it on time. If you feel that you are prepared and if you feel that you're ready to do the UCAT, then yes, by all means, sort of, do it as early as you can. But just remember that there is an expiry date on UCAT scores, so you don't want to do it too early, okay? You need to make sure that before the 15th of October deadline, it's there and it's ready. But my suggestion would be is, don't do it too early in case, that there is an expiry date on it and you fall foul of that. The key thing really with the UCAT is to prepare for it, is to make sure that you fully understand what the expectations are. As you're well aware of this, is there are different sections and there are different requirements that you need to fulfill. Make sure that you're fully prepared, and when you do the test, that you're satisfied with the results, really. There's no point sort of doing it too early and then saying, oh, maybe I should have waited a little bit longer and prepared a little bit more. Just take your time over it is what I would say to you. I wonder who writes my reference and predicted grades. Is it my guidance counselor? Yes. So I've got a question here saying who writes my reference and predicted grades. If you are applying through school or if you are applying through your college, then it will be your guidance counselor who will do that for you. If you're applying independently, then depending on where you stand. So for example, if you have got an academic who is in a position to provide you with a reference, you go to them. Or if you've got work experience, then that is accepted as well as a part of your UCAS application. But you've said you are a student, so I'm assuming you are in school. So in this case, it'll be your guidance counselor who would write your reference and make a prediction regarding your grades. Is A-level given priority over BTEC? So how it works with Queen's is that there are certain courses, for example, where a BTEC qualification perhaps is not the most appropriate qualification. However, for a majority of the courses, there is a BTEC equivalent to an A-level qualification. So my suggestion to you is look at the course that you're applying to, check whether a BTEC qualification is accepted, check what the entry requirements are for the BTEC qualification, and then apply. It is equivalent to an A-level. However, certain courses require A-levels rather than BTEC. So check your course, okay? Right. For my course choices, so one of the questions here is, for my course choices, can I apply for some humanities courses and some science courses? Absolutely. You can apply for courses that you are genuinely interested in. However, the key thing to remember is that your personal statement is going to be the same personal statement that is submitted for all of those universities and all of those courses. And when you're doing courses that are quite different and have a very different focus, then it's a little bit tricky to write a personal statement that feels like you're trying to convince the university that you really want to do a course in humanities, and then convince another university that you really want to do that science course, okay? So I think the important thing then is how you word your personal statement. You make sure that, you know, it's relevant for both sides of the course. So from the Republic of Ireland, I have another question which says, are you better getting a reference from a science teacher if you're thinking of doing pharmacy? Normally what happens in schools in GB, certainly the type of schools that I would go to here in England, would be that there is an allocated teacher who would do your predicted grades and who would do a reference for you, okay? So it's all very well organized, and if you're in a particular class doing a particular course, then you get allocated a teacher who does that for you. In terms of Ireland, I'm afraid I don't know what the system is in the Republic of Ireland. But I would think that a reference from a science teacher, if you're doing pharmacy, would be very relevant, because they would be able to comment on the subjects that you would need in order to do the pharmacy degree. Now, pharmacy is one of those degrees where we have prerequisite. You would need to have done a biology and a chemistry A-level or equivalent. So yes, a science teacher providing a reference would be absolutely excellent. Now we have another question that says, is the reference purely academic, or should it include a character reference as well? It varies. Normally, in schools, certainly in England, in England that I would go to, teachers would tend to focus very much on the academic side of things. So it's very much focused on your ability to be able to get onto the course and then to successfully complete that course. That's what universities are looking for in terms of a reference from teachers, and also from you in your personal statement that that you have the ability and the grades to get onto that course and then successfully complete that course. So in terms of a reference, if I were to write a reference, and I know this from having worked many years in student recruitment, is that teachers generally tend to focus on the student's ability to get on to the course that the student has expressed an interest in applying to at university, and then successfully completing that. I'm afraid we've run out of time today, but what I am going to do is I'm going to look at all of the questions that you've asked me, and thank you for the fantastic questions. It's been a real pleasure to answer them, and my apologies to those people where I haven't answered your questions. What I will do is next week I will send out an email and personally respond to each of those questions. So on behalf of Queen's University and the domestic recruitment team, thank you very much for participating in this session. As I said to you before, this is one of many sessions that we're running to help students through their application journey. So please log on and make sure that you sign up to all the forthcoming sessions. Next week, for example, on Thursday, I'm hosting a student panel. So if you want to find out what it's like to be a student at Queen's, this is a fantastic opportunity for you to get involved and ask your questions. We've also had our open day, which is still online. So please go in, look at the discovery sessions, the subject talks, and last but not the least, make sure that you complete your applications, your UCAS applications on time, and adhere to the guidelines that your teachers have provided alongside the UCAS deadlines. Once again, thank you, and I will be in touch next week.